Coming up on Reliving Single. So here we have Terrence Howard.
So I was not macking him. He was macking me. Call the police. Call the po-po.
I need a little rest now.
I'm hearing Heartbeat, and I'll make a joke. And Amber look at me like, I'm going to Google that later. And I'm like, what? What you Googling?
Actually, I don't like cougar. I say that I'm an ocelot because I can't run that fast.
No, we're trying to break down this whole age gap romance thing.
Have y'all had
You know how young he is? He's 18. He's having sex every day. 3-4 times a day with him alone.
Maybe with men, it's like the first sign of like aging. And
Yeah.
what does that mean now?
It means their penis won't work so well.
Okay, you and your nipples. Can we get off your nipples? Every
I'm
episode
just
we're
seeing
talking
if
about your
they're
nipples.
there. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I can get with that, and that makes me orgasm.
Nice.
Welcome back to Reliving Single, the official, unofficial Living Single Rewatch podcast. Well, this week's episode is all about May December romances, a.k.a. old people dating younger people. And I have an expert with me here today, Kim Coles.
Well, I don't know if I'm an expert, but I have dipped my toe into the younger pond. I do have some experience with younger men. I've dated several younger men, so that's me.
That's cool. I mean,
They
right
like
now,
me. What can I say?
you rocking it with a millennial.
No, actually, no. Dr. EJ is not a millennial. He's actually an X. And here's how
He's on the cusp. He's hanging on like this.
He was born in 74. So I think the number for millennial it starts at 1980. He was born in 74. But I'm a young boomer. I'm 62 and boomers end at 64. So I'm almost X. I'm
Okay.
X adjacent. So it's only 12 years difference.
Well, fine. Okay. Thank you, Miss Robinson. I mean, Kim. Let's get to today's episode. All right. So this is Living Single Season 1, Episode 17, The Hand That Robs the Cradle. Good God. All right. In our A story, Maxine Shaw finds herself unexpectedly smitten with Brendan, a charming and mature NYU freshman.
Mhm.
Embarrassed about the age gap, Max tries to keep the relationship from her peers and because she don't want no judgmental friends.
Right.
But meanwhile, in the B story, Regine is attempting to throw an advertiser's gala on a shoestring budget. And in this episode, we actually have a C story as well, where Kyle wrestles with the indignity of needing glasses and refuses to wear them out of vanity. I wonder
Right.
where that came from.
Right.
What, Kyle Vane? What?
So it's written by Danny Margosis and Robert Horn, directed by Ellen Falcon Gittleson, and our special guest, Terrence Howard. We've got Louis Dix Jr., who we love, Chip Fields, who we also love, who makes another appearance. And so that's our episode. It's time for the Rewind, where we watch and relive Living Single with you.
Excuse me, but aren't you Maxine Shaw?
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to tell you, I thought your presentation on criminal law was outstanding, very inspiring.
Well, it's what I do. Work it, Mrs. Robinson?
You know, before I met you, I had no idea what I was even going to major in. But now, I am seriously considering a career in law.
Well, it's a lot of hard work, but there's nothing more fulfilling than embracing the law with the respect that it deserves and then beating your opponent upside the head with it.
Well, if you get any spare time, I do have some more in-depth questions I'd like to ask.
So here we have Terrence Howard, who
Yes.
has now gone on to unbelievable, wonderful success, and he's so charming.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, he's Oscar nominated. Terrence
Yeah.
Howard was Oscar nominated for Hustle and Flow.
That's right.
Obviously, we know him from his work in Iron Man and Empire.
Yes.
I actually did another series with him later on called Street Time. So we
Right.
worked together, later on and, and know him very well. But
Yes,
here he is,
yes.
babyface,
Babyface, but man candy.
man candy. He's a lollipop.
Is
You
he a
know-
lollipop?
Well, no, I mean here. So he's the lollipop. We're supposed to want to
Well,
lick
is
him.
he your type? Is he your type?
Terrence Howard is a very fascinating man. I mean, he's into physics and, futurism and, he plays the
metaphysics,
piano and
right.
guitar and all that. So there's a lot of things, but maybe I know him so well that I can't say that he's
Okay.
my type, but he's certainly an interesting dude.
Okay,
No doubt
all right.
about it.
Do you think that Max is a man magnet? The students are attracted to her because Brendan really compliments her in her work and her mind.
I mean, that would be asking me, am I a man magnet? So I've got to say, based on my life experience, yes, Max is a man magnet. She can't help it.
I'm
I'm playing her.
Right.
Man, I've always been a man magnet. And that's the truth.
Oh.
Yeah, don't play or hate. I see some,
I'm not
jealousy
hating.
in your eyes.
No,
Really?
neither one of us have had a dearth of men's attention. That
Yeah.
ain't
You
nary our
right, you
problem.
right, you
listen,
right.
listen.
Look at-
Come on now. That ain't been our problem. No time at all.
Come on,
got
we
that.
could write
got
a book on that.
I need a little rest now. I have to be honest with you. Come on now. That ain't our thing. Now that ain't our thing.
I know that's right. Well, yes. So she is a man magnet partially because she doesn't need them.
Yeah.
By the way, she loves sex, but I think she's a man magnet because, yes, she's down. She loves men, but also, you know what? I don't need to pay my rent. I don't need to do that. We're going to have some fun and do all that other stuff. And so I don't look like it's all sex. I want to mention that she's also attracted to people who have intelligence,
Right.
and they are attracted to her because of her mind. So it is a two-way street.
And here's this young man who, if he's at NYU, that means he's really smart. He's been to your lecture. He's going to be attracted to obviously, we'll find out if he's attracted to the outside, but he's attracted to the mind too. That says a lot about him. I'm ready to answer your in-depth questions.
Ew.
How about this for the buffet table? An ice swan surrounded by calla lilies and a dozen white doves.
You got $200.
Hey, nice look, Mr. Magoo.
What did Junior have to say?
Actually, he had quite a bit to say. He has a very interesting way of seeing things, and he asked me some really good questions.
Like, what are you doing Saturday night?
No. He asked me out Friday.
I know a Mac when I see one.
Well, I bet he's home right now planning a romantic evening, huh? Candlelight, 2 happy meals.
So we know that Regine is an expert at entertaining and
Yes.
creating this experience, and she wants to create a great experience for Khadijah. And we know that Khadijah is like, I just don't have the budget for that. So
Khadijah is cheap. I don't know what she expected. That she's a miser.
maybe she's just frugal. We're saying she's cheap, but maybe she's just being frugal and being smart
No,
about where
she's
she's
a
spending her money.
survivor. I mean,
Okay.
she got to survive.
Right.
Yeah,
but she had the idea of doves and all this stuff that was just, it's too much.
It's a lot.
and not needed, I think. But,
Well, I know,
but
but
she's bougie
from her
that way.
point of view, if you ask her to do it, she's got to bring her flair.
right.
And you ain't giving her any resources to
Right,
work with. So I understand that.
Right. Well, first of all, let me just have a moment for Kyle's turtleneck. I love a man in a turtleneck. So we're talking about all this man candy and the lollipop that Terrence Howard is, but what about Terrence T.C. Carson
Well, come on.
lollipop?
Absolutely.
And he walks in knowing that we're probably going to tease him, but Overton has set us up, as you said. But he looks really good.
Do you think that Max can dish it out, but she can't take it?
Of course.
I
Of course.
think she takes it pretty well. But everybody's on her. It's not just
It's
Kyle.
like brr, brr, brr,
Yeah,
it's all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brendan is younger,
Mhm.
but she's not exactly, I think, in scary territory. For me, I think that 7 years is okay. It's just the fact that he is a student
Right.
and she's a professional. To me, that's more of the thing.
And it's these 7 years, it's this particular stage. She's already begun her career and he's just starting. So 7 years at some other time might be absolutely fine.
But I got to say, I don't think the glasses look that bad
No.
on TC.
No, maybe it's a sign of what's falling apart. So first it's the glasses, then it's my gut, then it's my wrinkle. Maybe the glasses, and
Right.
also gray hair. EJ found the first of gray hairs in his beard. Is like, what does this mean? So maybe there's a thing about aging. For women, I think it's maybe wrinkles or a little droop or a little droop or
Definitely
or the
gray hair,
hormones
too.
droop. But I think maybe with men, it's like the first sign of like aging. And
Yeah.
what does that mean now?
It means their penis won't work so well.
They have tools for that.
Oh, Max, this last week with you has been incredible.
I know. I was there. Damn!
What's wrong?
Oh, I forgot. I hate this place.
Oh. Hey there, Max.
Brendan, right?
Yeah, that's him. Hello again.
To me, they bullies.
We're not
They're
bullies. We're
bullies.
concerned.
Yes.
We're enjoying the moment.
squirmation.
The squirm. Because you haven't told us.
No.
You tell Khadijah everything. She's one of your best friends, but we know nothing. So you all seem to have a lot of chemistry. Was that chemistry real for you? I mean, you, Erica, not Max.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, I think that he's a fantastic performer, and I try to just match, where everyone is, and also, do my gig, which is to, look, if I'm supposed to dig you, I'm going to dig you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but I can't say it was real for me. I mean, I like that within the story, their age difference is there, and the chemistry is also,
There.
working for them.
Mhm.
But really, it's about the social, pressure. Getting caught out like that is crazy. I mean, you feel for her.
Oh, you do. And this is also somebody who's an attorney, and you have an incredible amount of integrity. And so to be caught really is uncomfortable, I would imagine. Do you think it would have been better for you to tell us?
No. I think she was right. Because if she was going to do it and sort of maybe relax into it without having the opinions of
Right.
people, sometimes you just got to live your life. There's a pressure to say, oh, you got to tell people this, you need to tell people that. Yes, I do believe that you should have some kind of dialogue going with people you trust. But if they're making you feel weird about it, but when you're in that person's presence, there's a real thing, then explore it.
Right.
Without
it's only a weekend.
Yeah, you
Right,
don't
right.
need Big Brother looking over your shoulder. And I also don't believe that she's a cradle robber. She is not robbing the cradle.
No.
25 and 18 is 7 years.
Mhm.
She's
He's legal.
exactly.
Mhm.
And most people who are 25 just graduated law school. Now, she must be a prodigy
She must be. Yeah, right.
because she's got a whole career and she's even got a reputation. So there's something to her that I think, may have worked very hard in life and needs that fun,
Needs that
things,
lightness.
that lightness. And so I
Okay.
think she's attracted to that.
All right.
Oh, Kyle, you dated younger women.
Yes, but that's normal.
All right. Everybody quiet. I got to hear this one.
It is a scientific fact that women mature sooner than men. Therefore, it is only natural for us to try to get to them before gravity does.
It is also a proven fact that women reach their sexual peak somewhere around 40 while men burn out at 19. So when I'm getting the gold at the sexual Olympics, you'll have wrung out your towel and hung it up to dry.
Max, we in your corner. If Brendan is your man, he's our man. This is my party. I want you to be there.
Okay, we'll be there.
Good. And you can tell Brendan he can park his big wheel in my studio.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Yes. And so it's a great scene.
So here we are teasing you mercilessly, and you are invited to bring Brendan to the party because the more the merrier, and you say yes. Why do you think that Max said yes?
Because Max can't stand down from a challenge. She just can't. And she can't let them win. She ain't gonna run from it. If she does, well, how does that make her look with those people?
Exactly.
She's gonna lose her street cred.
That's right.
It ain't gonna happen. Not on her watch.
Right.
Now I gotta ask you, because this is a scene where we're all in the kitchen, in a different space than the living room. Did you like doing those scenes? Because I did.
I loved doing the scenes in the kitchen.
Yes,
I
me
really
too.
did. Because first of all, we were standing most of the time. There was a table on the side, so some of us could sit. But most of us had to be standing, and we were moving about the space, going in the fridge and getting something to eat. You were going to the cabinet, going into our cabinets and getting spices and things and salt. So I loved it. Why did you love it?
I love it because if in theater, and this is theater,
It is,
without a
indeed.
doubt. And those things, the energy goes up. You
Yeah.
have everyone's energy coming into that space, and everybody is delicately balancing not only their performance, but also what Kim Fields would say, not pulling focus, knowing that you were performing behind someone's shot and, eating. gives the audience a nice little, it just makes it rich and complex.
Like a nice depth happening.
Yeah, and it
throughout,
feels
yes.
like, as you say, a dance. And that's, we got to give props to Ellen Gittleson.
Yeah.
So that's direction. If what you're seeing is us cross each other, go into cabinets, doing all these things very silently too. You just can't go and stomp
Right,
around.
right.
You have to know when to place. You sometimes wait to place the glass, or you put something soft there so we don't hear, a heavy thing.
Uh-huh.
There's all these things happening to make sure that no one gets distracted.
The magic of that happens in rehearsal. And I remember asking her, and to this, something I just realized. I remember asking her, I know it says that I do this, but I really feel like I would go and do this. And she would say, try it, and let's see what we can make it work. And to this day, when I'm on a set and it says, well, it says that I do this, but I think I would have something else in my hand. And most directors will go, we'll try it and let's see if we can make it work. Because if that makes you feel better in the space, because this was our home and your home by default. So why wouldn't you want to feel comfortable in that space? So I loved the kitchen.
She was great about that.
Yeah.
She was great. And when people want to know whether we're improving the lines, I used to say our improv is mostly inside of performance.
Mhm.
Because one thing about comedy is that when something is written, you kind of have to deliver the line a certain way so the other person can throw their line back. And if you transpose it anyway, or sometime, flip the sentence, it doesn't land right, the other person kind of fumbles. So you practice knowing the lines and then delivering them like you don't know them. And you find the freshness in the performance. And so a good director gives you a lot of leeway for that, but she's also reined us in.
Right.
Because she's got to balance where the cameras are and saying, I can't find you in camera one, go over there, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And those cameras, she's in there with a clicker. She's in the booth with this click, this big click, click, click.
She said that, because they often snap, but your fingers get tired
She
after a
got
while. She had a
tired,
little
so-
clicker.
Right.
Yeah.
So she had a clicker. It was click, click, and that's them snapping the red light when we see it on the camera. Boom, we know it's on us. And all these things are happening
all at the same
that
time.
people can't know that we're all paying attention to. It's a great kitchen scene, so I
It
got to
is,
give
yeah.
props out.
Okay, good.
My mom tried to make me take dance classes, but now that I'm 18, I do what I want. As long as I keep my room clean,
Excuse us, we're gonna go get some punch.
Yes, do that.
It seems like an okay guy.
Yeah, he's all right. So what's he doing with Max?
Yes, I'm still with Evans Bell and Associates. Are you still with Braxton and Waters?
Actually, I'm up for partner since Waters was indicted.
Oh!
And what do you do, Brendan?
He's in education.
Oh.
I guess that's one way of putting it. I'm a student at NYU.
Oh, maybe you know my daughter Gina Jones. She's a sophomore there.
Well, she is a year ahead of me.
Excuse us. Hey, what's up?
Hey, so the flavor party is on, and $200 looks good. It actually looks good.
It
the
doesn't
party.
look cheap at all. She
Not
made
at
it.
all.
She made it work. That's
yeah.
good.
And Max is out with her man.
Right.
This is the big thing that she was afraid of, but there she is, and she's starting to deal with the fact that out, in the open, everything done in the dark must come
It
into
will come
light.
to the light.
We're starting to now see the cracks in it. In her world, she's going to talk to a colleague that says, "Hey, what do you do to Brendan?" And he says he goes to NYU. She tries to cover it, but he says NYU, and she said, "Oh, my daughter goes there." I mean, that's some what?
And she's a sophomore, so now
Yeah.
we're about to find out that she's older than this kid.
Yeah,
I mean, the
daughter.
The daughter. Right.
Yeah, and that's Max's colleague.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it make her feel?
Mm-hmm.
Max is not that old, but 7 years when you're young is a lot.
Oh, exactly. Let's talk about how good Terrence Howard looks in that. I didn't remember that there was a Mona Lisa on his tie,
Yeah.
and the vest looked so good. He looked handsome.
He's very handsome.
Yeah,
I think that still stands up to this day if you came in,
Oh.
maybe not the big, shoulder
Right.
pads.
By
Yeah.
the way, that colleague was played by Chip Fields.
Yes.
The one and only Chip Fields, also known as Chip Hurd now. And so love having her there in that scene. And you can see where she clocks it like,
Yeah.
she gets it. She gets what's going
and
on
also
here.
she's a little confused, like, what's
Mhm.
going on?
Mhm.
But he also is lacking cultural references,
Mhm.
important cultural references that I mean, imagine you sitting at a table and you might make a reference. Like right now, it happens to me all the time. I'm hearing Heartbeat and I'll make a joke and Amber look at me like, I'm going to Google that later. And I'm like, what? What you Googling?
I have just spotted the future Mrs. Kyle Barker. Kyle? I saw her first, man. If you say so. Look at that poise, that elegance. You need to look at that through your glasses. Oh, the horror.
Kyle.
What TC's able to do with his vocal cords is just, because I'm on the page, I'm sure it just said, oh, the horror.
Right.
But he would, oh, the horror.
The great comedy timing of putting on your glasses and then just waiting for everything
and if you watch how his body shifts.
Yeah.
He takes his beat. Oh, the horror.
It's not that you're young that bothers me.
Okay, then what is it?
It's that you're young. And I'm really starting to like you.
Why don't you give me a call when you're mature enough to handle this? I got midterms to study for.
Okay, all right, look. Why don't we give us a little bit more time?
One of my favorite parts of that scene is Terrence's eyes light all the way up. Like you see all this beauty, all these beautiful eyeballs, you both. And there's a smile on his face that is it feels genuine to me. Like, ooh, look.
Yeah, it is, And also that's when he looks the youngest.
Yeah.
When he's
like
grinning, like,
oops.
oh, we're caught out here.
Now, did he go all the way in? Did he go in for the kiss?
We did he? You saw it. I mean, he went in. It was, all sorts of tongue and stuff.
Was
and
it tongue?
He pushes me, yes, against the back of the elevator.
Have Max and Brendan had sex? Have y'all been doing it?
What do you mean, have they had sex?
Have y'all had
You know how young he is?
sex?
He's 18. He having sex every day. 3-4 times a day with him alone. I'm just there every now and then. Dudes, when they're hormones, when the cat comes a calling.
Right.
When I said, or maybe the dogs are barking.
The dogs are barking and the cat comes a calling.
I hear, this is what I hear. This is not data stats, so don't come on me. That 3-4 times a day they gotta, pop off.
Gotta release.
And I'm like, good God, what kind of engine is that? You know what I'm saying? That you gotta find a release in the choo-choo before you can relax.
Right.
That's what I hear.
Right.
So yeah, they're having sex. Okay. That's why she's with him.
Okay, there you go.
Come on. I hope so.
I hope so too. So they decide to meet up when their ages meet up more.
Because she can't be proud of the relationship right now. She's having trouble. And she's smart to sort of say, hey, this is great, but why don't we wait a little while and let him catch up?
Right.
Let's wait a while.
Just for tonight. Is that the lyric?
Too late. Before it's too late.
Before it's too late.
Before we go too far. That's the great Janet Jackson talking about you can't get the goodies right now.
Right.
We need to learn who we are.
But don't you think she understands that if she lets this go, she has to be willing to let this go because he may not want to be with her in a few more years. So she's willing to let that go.
Why? Because she's a spinster? Like she's old? A few more years. She's 25. I mean...
No, but he's 18. And between 18 and the next few years, he's going to meet a whole lot of chicky babes.
And so will she. I think the point is when you're young, you don't think the spigot is ever off.
Okay.
It's only when you get older, when you start to think, oh gosh, is it too late for me? Am I going to find someone?
Smaller,
then you start tripping. But when you're 25 and they're both beautiful and young, I think they just sort of say we can try again.
If I meet you again, I'll see you around sometime, kid.
He's going to go and find a younger girlfriend or no, maybe, an older one.
Or find his soulmate. Who knows?
Probably date the professors.
That's his style.
I appreciate that about a young man who's not afraid to be challenged by someone. And in a way, he will get more experiences that are deeper and richer.
Now, did he call you Maine? That's a Kenny question. Kenny wanted to know. Got to give props to props. Did he call you Maine? I think that's just one of his words. Hey, Maine.
Hey, Maine. Terrence Howard does a thing where he says Maine.
Yeah.
But like that comes from Hustle and Flow more, more so.
Right.
Hey, Maine.
I think he's said it in this episode. I think it's just one of his words.
I don't know. He didn't call me man.
Okay.
He called me something else. We're going to talk about that.
That's another episode. It was great. It was great acting.
It was. And I like that they had a mature conversation about it. That's what we need more of, showing people how to talk about these things. You know, do we talk enough while dating, do you think?
Right. I think I've always at least wanted to have the conversation. You know, not everybody has the maturity to have the conversation. So they're, you know, more in the blaming mode or the, you know, victim mode, or not knowing what your blind spots are, or being willing to look at even your responsibility in the relationship.
For sure.
So you two in this scene are looking at your responsibility. It's like, I like you. I'm falling for you. It doesn't seem like the right timing. And so it's a very mature conversation without blaming or naming or shaming. Just like, see you later, maybe. And I think we do need to have those conversations.
I think we do. And we need to show that they can be healthy and that they won't break if you have them, as opposed to just ghosting people and just being like, gone.
But the respect that was there, that proves how mature he was, that he had the respect, and that you had the maturity to have the respect for him as well. Because you could have just ghosted. Like, little boy, get on out of here now.
You know, I want to do a quick fact check here.
Uh-oh.
Fact check. In real life, your girl, Erica E., is younger than Terrence Howard.
Really?
Yes, by 8 months.
What?
We're both 1969. He's March 11th, and I'm November 19th. But so I was not macking him. He was macking me. Call the police. Call the popo. Call the popo on Terrence.
I didn't realize that.
That just shows you how great an actor I am.
I see it.
You know?
Yes, you're wonderful. And so is he. That was the hand that robs the cradle.
Kim, it feels like the world is still stuck at the beginning. You know,
The beginning?
this episode demonstrates one of the oldest debates between the sexes. Can younger men like an older woman? Is it appropriate?
Listen, my beloved, who I'm with now, has dated older women.
Yeah.
And it became, you know, I asked him early on, what was your type? He says, I don't really have a type, but I know now after being with him that quite a few of the women he had been with were older women. It could be in his case because he's highly intelligent and super, super smart. He probably wanted to be with someone who at least met him or could teach him something. So I think I highly recommend it. Not only would I tell an older woman to date a younger man, I would tell a younger man to give an older woman a try. Listen, we're more secure in who we are. There's also, you know, a sexual confidence that you have at a certain age. There's a certain
You're letting it loose. You take the bra off.
Oh, yeah.
And you say it is what it is.
This is enjoy.
Enjoy.
I am
Yeah,
much more comfortable naked now than I ever was in my 20s.
And plus, you have
And
more
I'm
of a
63.
buffet. You know, first you had a nice little side table of edibles, but now there's a huge buffet
A huge
for people.
buffet. A huge buffet that is my butt. What is the Erica, what are you trying to say?
I never said nothing about your buffet, your butt being a buffet.
My butt was implied. but there is a comfortability. Like I said, I'm more comfortable with myself now than I was in my 20s. And I think that comes with age and stage. And
Yeah, but not every older person is
every
comfortable
woman.
with
No,
that
of
thing. They
course
looking
not,
at,
of course
you know why? Because you're holding on to those pictures that, you know, we all took prom pictures. No, I didn't go to prom. But you took those pictures, and probably that's the most photographed part of your life.
Sure.
Outside of a wedding or things like that, where you're showing your body, you're at the beach. After a while, you go into the bikini store and you start saying, okay, what's the cover up? Let me get the cover up first. And then I'll tell you what type. And literally, you're like, no, I can't have my stomach. No, I got stretch marks. And all this stuff is happening. All right, can I just have some shorts? And come on.
Right. Well, I agree that there's, you know, there are things that move, you know, gravity comes into place. Like you said, the varicose veins, the map to the Andes mountains on your ass. But I think that there is if you've lived and if you're honest and you're doing the work, I do think that there's a freedom that you have. And this is what younger men have said to me. So maybe they were just telling me this to make me feel good. Like, you seem to be less restrictive about things because you've had a few experiences.
That's true. That's true. Well, you know, we ain't gonna.
Do I sound like a whore now? What does it say?
Well, a little bit. But I listen and I don't judge.
Do I sound like I've enjoyed my
that
time?
Too.
I've enjoyed
the one
my
thing
time.
about you, Kim, is that you really have embraced life,
I
even with your vagina.
You always say that you wish you'd use your puss more. I'm saying
I'm jealous.
you still have time. You still have time.
Thank you.
Use it as often as possible.
We still have time. Please send all donations. Hey, we've been talking about this kind of stuff for a very long time, and we won't stop. you know?
No, it's life.
Yeah, so let's keep talking about it.
Let's-
More in the reverb.
You know what's hit me rewatching these episodes? Every single character raised the bar and set their own standard of excellence.
Max, she went from legal powerhouse to community advocate.
Mhm.
Khadijah built a media empire for the culture before the internet.
That's right. And Sinclair, who went from assistant to actress with heart and hustle, and Regine from boutique bombshell to event planner, boss.
And just like our girls on Living Single, our friends, you at home are making moves like launching your side hustle and landing your dream jobs. And Lexus is right there with you, helping you reset the bar.
You understand something? This is not just a point A to point B journey. It's about riding in a car that meets your vision. Sleek, powerful, luxurious, comfort so good it feels like a spa day in traffic. Woo!
Because that's how Lexus makes me feel. Amazing.
Yes. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. We turn to some funny places for support, but not everyone is a therapist. Not everyone is the one. Find your right match at BetterHelp. All right, let's be real. I've turned to everybody at some point for advice. My hairstylist knows more about my love life than some of my exes. I once spilled my whole soul to a woman in the frozen foods aisle, and she gave me surprisingly solid advice on boundaries. I thank you, madam. But here's the thing. Sometimes we're out here looking for healing at the grocery store when what we really need is help from someone trained to help us heal. And that's where therapy comes in. A real therapist, like the kind BetterHelp connects you with, isn't just good at nodding and saying, mm-hmm. These folks are credentialed, licensed, and trained to handle the heavy stuff. Anxiety, depression, relationships, burnout, trauma, you name it, they've seen it, studied it, and helped people through it. And BetterHelp doesn't leave you hanging, trying to find a good fit. You take a quick questionnaire, nothing too deep, just enough to get a sense of what you need, and they match you with someone who fits you. And if it's not a match made in mental health heaven, you can switch therapists at no extra cost. Easy peasy breezy, BetterHelpy. They've been doing this for over 10 years, y'all. Over 1.7 million reviews, 4.9 stars, and that's more stars than I've had hairstyles. And that is saying something. I've done therapy, and I'm going to tell you what, it's one of the best gifts I've ever given myself. It's like spring cleaning, but for your spirit. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one at BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/reliving. That's HELP.com/reliving. All right, y'all, welcome to The Reverb, brought to you by Lexus. Y'all know this is where we reflect and connect and talk about how the episode's themes still echo in the culture. Because just like our stories, Lexus keeps raising the bar. That's the standard of amazing.
All right, so we have our resident May December romance expert here.
Yes, lived experiences.
Yes, but we decided to bring in a real expert because we want some real advice. And so, we're trying to break down this whole age gap romance thing.
So therefore, we have an expert who advises people looking for love of all types.
Yes, he is the creator for Get Your Guy Coaching, a platform to help successful Black and brown women find healthy relationship. Anwar has become a social media phenomenon. Please welcome dating fairy godbrother, Anwar White.
Yay!
Thank you so much for having me, y'all. I'm super happy to be here, as you can tell by my shirt.
Okay, that's a gold star, Anwar. You'll always be in our heart.
Right away.
Thank you. He's dating us right now. We just didn't know
Of course.
Yes, he just set the table.
Charming
for
us
love.
right now.
That's how we do it.
So as you probably already know, this episode we're talking about the age gaps, right? And so particularly about older women and younger men. So is it still seen as a taboo in some circles for older women to date younger men?
I think it is, but it depends on the actual age gap, right? Mm-hmm. So if it's like 10 years plus, I think there's still a little bit of a taboo. But I will tell you, as someone who gets people into relationships every other day, most of my clients are getting with men that are 3 to 6 years younger than they are. And I actually recommend it. I actually recommend that Black women specifically get with younger men. And one, because y'all don't age.
For sure.
So y'all gonna look the same age anyway. Hello.
Hey, you know.
So just so you know that I've gone 12 years my junior. So I guess I'm still, I guess I'm taboo. But oh well.
What I think is really important for women to know right now is that they are the choosers and they're not waiting to be chosen. And that's the difference between what we're doing now and what we maybe were doing 30, 40 years ago, right? And so as a woman who's doing things and doing things well, you get to choose who you want to be with.
Why is 3 to 6 years the sweet spot for you?
One, because you want to make sure that you aren't in a completely different life stage than the other person is in, right? I mean, when we think about this episode, right, there were different life stages that were happening.
Yes.
So that was something that was, I think, a little bit different and harder to kind of navigate. I also think that at that age, you have things in common. There are cultural references that you can kind of engage with. But the person also will hopefully have the same trajectory as you have, right? The same stability that you have. Whereas maybe if someone is, let's say 15 years younger, they might not be there. So it's hard to imagine an actual long-standing relationship with them because there might be a power imbalance there.
Okay.
So like in your experience, like what insecurities or societal pressures tend to show up with these dynamics?
I think that in a lot of women might feel like they're running out of time. I hear that a lot. I have certain feelings about my aging and I might feel judged, right? And trying to stay relevant with this young buck, right?
Yeah.
I think that there's a double standard, right? I
Yes.
think that older women with younger men are considered cougars, which doesn't have the best, kind of connotation, but like older men with younger women have traditionally been seen as ballin', right? And so I think those are kind of societal pressures that I think women navigate when they are engaging with younger men. I also think that like some of the insecurities that happen that I hear a lot is, are they going to leave me for someone younger, right? Does this person want kids and I might not be able to give them kids? Sometimes there's a bit of social isolation, right? That like, my friends and my family are giving me a hard time. They might not feel like they can relate with me. So those are some of the insecurities that happen. And then, like I was saying before, some life stages, right? If I'm like in the episode, Max was kind of in her career already and her young buck was a freshman in college. So completely different life stages, right?
Right.
Yeah.
This week, the character Max hides her younger relationship. She's 25, he's 18. That's 7 years because she's afraid of being judged by her friends and colleagues. How common is it that that kind of preemptive shame, shows up, and how do you advise clients to navigate it?
We always going to talk about somebody.
Black people is
Am I
shady.
lying?
It's the truth. What
True.
you want?
Are
What
we
you
always
want?
going to talk about somebody? It doesn't matter whether you with someone that's younger or his career is interesting or if he has an interesting look about him. We're always going to talk about somebody. But I think that there's this shame that happens that, women can feel like if they're dating a younger man that they're preying on the naive or feel pathetic in any way. And again, I want to reframe that and knowing that, no, this is about your choice and you get to choose who you want to be with. So that's number one. The other thing that I will just mention is that because of some of this shame, what can happen is that a lot of women will start dating what I call on the DL. That nobody knows who you're dating, right? You don't tell any of your business. And that's like the most dangerous thing that you can do because then you're in isolation. And then what happens is you don't have anyone to help you to get out of that situation because you don't have the perspective. You're in the trenches and you need what I call your love jury to help you out in those moments where you don't have that perspective. The research says that your friends and family will be able to predict your relationship outcome at like the 90th percent level. But you, someone that's in the relationship, you'll only be able to predict it at like the 60th percent level. So you need those people to give you that perspective and be like, no, that's not it.
That's so true. I can think of relationships where people saw it before I saw it. Because you're just in love or you want to be in love or you want this thing so bad. By the way, I don't have a problem with the term cougar. Actually, I
I know
don't like
that's right.
cougar. I say that I'm an ocelot because I can't run that fast. So what are some other things if I'm deciding that I want to give this a try? What other key factors should I be looking for? Other than my rule is that they have to know at least 3 Earth, Wind, and Fire songs, and then we can go. We can
Wow.
go.
It was low bar.
Low bar.
I know that's right. I know that's right. So I think it's important to have true alignment on some of those non-negotiables: kids,
Yeah.
career, lifestyle, travel, things like that, and values, religious, financial, political. I think specifically we have to understand what the actual power dynamics are.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes what will happen is that the older partner, regardless of whatever the gender kind of combination is, will naturally feel like they are in control because they are wiser. They might have more money. So making sure that the younger partner feels empowered, right,
Okay.
to voice his needs, and that there's also some sort of financial balance. Now, just because he's younger doesn't mean that you got to be a sugar mama.
Right.
Mm.
You know, like there
Mm.
has to be balance there that I think is important. And then finally, what I will say is you have to have really great boundaries with family and friends.
Mhm.
And then for the older partner, you're going to need to feel really secure about aging. And for the younger partner, especially if he is male, he's going to need to be okay with being what I call an alphabet man, someone who is an alpha, but also can take a back seat at times because as an older woman, you're going to know more. And he has to be respectful and honor that and revere all of that as well. And some men won't be able to do that.
I love that. I want to go back to something you said about being in isolation because here, obviously, I've been in showbiz for like 40 years. And it's very difficult to feel like you have room to tell your personal business to people. So you see these women of all different ages isolated, and they are in abusive relationships, but they don't want to admit that. They go on for far too long, and they're in, maybe with children or finances, and they haven't said anything. And that's because and it may not just be age, but they have presented a certain person to the world, but behind those doors, it's a whole nother beat. Can you talk about that isolation thing? Having your tribe, would you call it your
love jury.
Your love jury. I love
that.
We grow up thinking and being conditioned that we can't tell our business outside of the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And actually in love and relationships, it's important for you to do that with your tribe. Now, not everybody needs to know, but a good 2 to 3 people need to know, right? So that you can continue to have this perspective. And I do think that one of those people should be an elder, right? Someone who knows, who's been in a successful, healthy marriage for 10, 20, 30 plus years, who can give you the perspective. I talk to Black women all day, every day. And one of the things that I've learned in being a dating coach for 15 years is that the hardest thing for them to say is, I need help.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing for them to say. So part of this work is before you're even getting into that sort of situation, being in the practice of asking people for help, family, friends, men, right? As well, because that is also kind of a sticky point for a lot of women nowadays.
So Anwar, what inspired you to focus specifically on Black and brown women of color? Was there something in your background that led you to want to focus on them in particular?
I grew up with a front row seat to my family members and how they navigated their love lives. And I think that there are greater challenges when you're dating and in love and relationshiping as a Black woman specifically. And so I never saw anyone speaking to those challenges in depthly. And, I am pro-Black woman love. And I want every Black woman to get the love that they deserve. And, there are specific healings that have to happen for you to be successful in love.
Agreed.
There's a lot of conditioning and programming, right, that your white counterparts do not get that make it harder for you to love. So for example, right, oftentimes a lot of Black girls are raised to be stoic. right? And not have feelings, because our parents know that this world is hard and you gotta rely on yourself. So if you're stoic, you're not showing your feelings. You're not going to be
Not
able to deeply
vulnerable.
connect with somebody, right?
Yes.
Also, we don't grow up with boundaries. So most of us don't. I'm not going to speak for everyone. Most of us don't grow up with boundaries, but to be successful in dating and love, you have to be boundaried up all day, every day. So those are examples of what needs to happen, what healing needs to happen, what work needs to happen for Black women specifically to get into the best relationship of their life.
I love this conversation. I love that you lead with that there's work that you're going to need to do on your own and choose yourself differently and choose yourself differently in a relationship and choose more with more intention. I love that.
And choosing from a healing place.
Choose
not
from a
trauma
healed place. Listen.
Biologically speaking, women often hit their sexual prime in their 40s, so they say, just as some men.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that, girl. Y'all need to tell me, honey. I would know about that. Y'all tell me.
Look, this is the data, child. I mean,
No, data, I can tell you reach a peak. This is when my expertise comes in handy.
She about to hump the chair.
I can just tell you, I found that the gentlemen that I was choosing from, I liked younger men because the older men had begun to decline in that department. And also, a lot of times the men in my age range, they're moving on to younger women.
Right.
And so I was like, well, let me see what's left. And hello, hot sir.
Yes, can I carry your gym bag?
Make sure you get a juice box and a Lunchable.
Does that mean it actually makes sense for women to date younger? Is biology low-key pushing us toward May-December romance from the other side?
I think all of those things are true, right? I think that y'all are hitting your peak sexually at that moment, whereas, men younger are at their peak. But relationships aren't all sexual.
That's
right?
true.
And so I do think it's really important to understand the totality. We're looking at not just the physical connection, but we're also looking at the intellectual connection and the emotional connection as well. And so when we think about it in those terms, right, I don't necessarily know if May, December relationships or partnerships are ideal. What I will say is there's a beautiful thing that happens around 45 and 50 years old. And it is this. Women are having more testosterone and men are losing their testosterone. And what happens is for many women, that's the peak of their career. They're really getting it, right? And there's a switch of the masculine and the feminine energy that happens. I'm sure many of you have seen this, right? Where they're very much about their pets or about plants or about landscaping and cutting grass. This is the nurturing aspect that men start to have around 45 and 50 years old. People of your age range actually are doing this beautiful masculine, feminine, energetic dance.
Wow. They say, so they're trading their, penis for an actual dog. Because up until that point, their pet was their penis. Although men may not admit it. I think that...
If that's what you got from that,
that's what you got from that, take that and run.
No, I get it. That there's something that's coming with them that is hormonal as well.
Right.
That as that testosterone goes down, they're able to link it to their feminine divine. Right?
Exactly.
How do you think media is doing on this side? I mean, we're talking about the Max and dynamic here in the show. For media et al., are they perpetuating this dynamic realistically or, with emotional truth?
Well, I think that this episode does a really great job, right? Of portraying exactly what it really does look like. Because your friends and family will talk about you, right? And in the episode that they do, one of the most beautiful parts of the episode that I really liked was when you and Terrence Howard were running from the rain, right? And you were super excited and super giddy and all of those things. And one of the things that I think is so beautiful about that interaction, especially for a Black woman, is that the young men get to have fun with them, right?
Yes.
You don't have to be responsible. You don't have to put your cape on anymore. You get to be that fun little girl that oftentimes for many Black women, Black girls growing up, you don't get to be, right? You turn 10, 11, 12. Now you cooking and cleaning in the house.
Yes.
You helping your mama. You doing all of this. And your childhood gets lost a little bit. And so part of the beauty of these sorts of relationships is that you get to find that fun little girl and not feel guilty about being fun because he's not going to make you feel guilty about it.
Right.
Right now, there's this war zone that's going on, a discourse. We have men saying, what do you bring to the table? Men and women. Men are asking for women to be submissive. Women are clapping back and, saying, I got degrees and paychecks. What are you going to do for me? But there are also men who are saying, if you want someone to pay those bills, then what are you offering? What are you offering? So how influential is this discourse to people dating?
I think that this conversation gets really complicated when we're talking about the Black community in general.
Mhm.
And it is because when you tease out all of the data, single Black women make more than single Black men.
Mhm.
And this is the only racial group where this happens. So this
Wow.
conversation gets even more elevated because if I'm a Black woman and I'm making more than you, then does it make sense for you to take care of all of the dates, all of the finances, where that traditionally was the case? I think that this sort of rhetoric and conversation is really focused on making dating and relationships a transactional negotiation. And I
Wow.
think that people are greater than that. There's this pressure to feel like you have to articulate what your value is or what you bring to the table. But in reality, everyone just has to bring themselves.
Mm.
And that's enough.
Thank
I
you.
hate to be the dating MLK here, but we're all equal, right? At the end of the day. And this sort of conversation gives superiority and inferiority complex that doesn't serve anyone at the end of the day. And I think it's making dating the hardest that it's ever been, unfortunately. I think we rise above that.
How do we begin to shift those conversations? Because if these debates are all happening online and they're all happening everywhere, what do we need to do in order to shift those conversations to what you're talking about right now?
Don't engage.
Mm.
Because your person is never going to have this sort of conversation with you.
I love that.
I literally see this happen like every other day. There are relationships happening in my program, and there's never a question of who's going to pay. There's never a question of, you need to reach out to me more. There's never a question of, what are you bringing to the table? Now, unfortunately, that voice is the strongest voice because most of the people that are having those conversations are single and don't have relationship skills.
Got it.
Your job as a single woman in this dating economy is to engage and focus on the individuals that have the relationship skills. 90% of them don't.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, you're listening to 90% of these individuals who never had it to begin with. Again, these people who are having these sorts of conversations, oftentimes it's about a power struggle, right? That's what it is. It is, I want to have power over you, Black woman, because you're so powerful. That's what I'm saying. I don't want you to engage in those men because it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Unless you want to be a second-class citizen in your own relationship.
Good luck.
Right? And
Good
nobody
luck.
wants that.
That's a
Good
bar.
luck. So I hear that you have these dating archetypes as it relates to the living single characters. Do you mind giving us our archetypes, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think that each character represents a different love archetype, right?
Okay,
And so,
tell.
Maxine Shaw, attorney at law,
Yes.
she is the emotionally unavailable queen.
That's true.
She uses her intellect, her sarcasm as a defense mechanism to keep men at a safe distance. So she's going to have to learn how to be vulnerable. She's got to let go of the roster, right? Because actually the roster is a way for her to avoid true commitment. She's got to lean in, right? So that's Maxine Shaw, attorney at law.
I love that he said that with such a smile, just so you know.
I mean, I got to say it with love,
You
you
do,
know?
you
I mean,
do.
because we
She
all
sounds-
have our work to do. Khadija, she's the boss lady,
Yes.
right? She's the strong friend. She's always there for everybody, but it is impossible for her to ask for help.
Yes.
And so she's leaning into work. She's avoiding dating oftentimes. And because of that, she is not feeling as safe as she needs to in relationships. And so to help her better prepare for longer term, healthier partnership, she's going to have to learn how to ask for help from friends, family, and the men that she's dating. But she's going to need to find the complement to her, not her clone. Because if he's ambitious and she's ambitious, she's not going to have anyone to support her as she goes on to her journey because he's going to be focused on his ambitions. right? So those are the sorts of things that happen when you are a boss lady type in life and in love.
That's
Nice.
interesting.
Regine, she's a high maintenance queen.
Yes.
And she was actually a little bit before her time in terms of wanting and demanding certain things. But again, there was a notion of as kind of a superiority complex, right? I think I'm a little bit
Yes.
better than certain people.
Mm.
And I think that was to find worthiness within herself. And I think that the regimes of the world have an innate value. When you grow up in an environment where you're always trying to prove yourself, often proving yourself to your mother, because there's a lot of Black mother wounds out there. And I think
Yes.
that Regine kind of had a little bit of that.
Yes.
Then you're always going to be a little bit critical like your mom, but also try to gain that validation, right, from other people. So that's the work that Regine would need to do, because if you're doing these things in your relationships, you will also do it with men. And then finally, Sinclair, the nice romantic girl, right? She's the girl who is writing holiday cards for people and checks in with people when, most people don't. And ultimately, I think that the biggest opportunity for Sinclair was setting boundaries, right?
Yes.
When you're a nice girl, you let people do and say a lot of different things. And I think that she would struggle a lot in today's dating landscape because she would be attracting a lot of toxic and narcissistic men that would take her kindness for weakness. And so being able to set boundaries, to say no, to share how things make her feel would help her keep her safe and find her Opie.
This is good stuff. I love how passionate you are about this work. Whatever women were in your life who showed you this way, and you developed this passion to want to see them be happy and feel fulfilled, really just pours through. So thank you for doing that work for yourself and doing that work for the world.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm interested to hear, I'm wondering what your listeners will think, because, every person connects with one character if that's been their love story or not. So
Right.
definitely hopefully we can hear from them.
Everybody say what their archetype might be. What things out there can people do to gain this type of knowledge so they can start to better select, heal, or have more options because of the way they have different perspective?
Well, I am everyone's dating fairy godbrother, so you can always watch me on socials and everything like that. But, it might be a little bit of a bad word in our community, but therapy will help you. Finding an amazing therapist that you connect with, I think, is really important. For some of my intellectual ladies, part of the first step in this work is reading books.
Yes.
I mean, you got Bell Hooks sharing all the tea in her books. Especially start with All About Love. That book will open you up if you are a Black woman.
Yeah, I just bought that. It stayed on the best New York Times list for ever.
For a reason. It should be if you want to really delve into this work as a Black woman, that's the first book that I think every Black woman should date and focus on.
Everybody go sign up for Anwar stuff.
Absolutely. Yes. And I also find an elder, because you said that should be part of your love jury.
The love jury.
And I love that you speak to that, because I think we need to make sure that we are having those conversations and that they're generational.
I think a lot of people just really quickly say, oh, she hasn't dated, in 20, 30 years. But if your grandmother or an elder in the church or someone else has had a successful relationship for 20, 30 years, she knows something.
Yes.
She knows a lot of something.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we are, making sure that we're internalizing some of those lessons so that we can have the best relationship of our life as well.
I'm glad we have a good relationship with you, Anwar. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having me.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you, Anwar. I mean, it's just brilliant.
Great.
And he does it with such grace and calm.
Such love.
And I'd have to say, to his point, here, I think, for Max, Max is not robbing the cradle.
No.
She's not. She's challenging the system. She's challenging the status quo. So, hey, this is True Blue, where we hear from our friends. All right, let's go, Amber. What's next? What do you got?
All right, this is from Ashley W. She says that first I want to express my appreciation for the show. I'm 38 and remember watching the show weekly with my mom. And I cannot say how happy I was when the show came to Hulu. I also have my son watching Living Single and Reliving Single.
Nice.
She asked, at the end of the show, we hear a woohoo. Whose voice is that? My mom says Regine, and I say Sinclair.
It is actually our creator, Yvette Lee Bowser.
Yes.
Woohoo!
So you're
and
wrong.
she's
It's neither
neither.
Regine
And swinging on
or
a windmill, as I recall. So that's Yvette.
Yeah, I wondered what that means to her. I've never really understood the windmill thing. Do you know why she chose a windmill?
But
We're
if she
so
comes,
curious.
we need to ask.
Like we didn't ask 100 episodes.
It's been 30 years. We'll ask her.
But we were there.
I know.
Why didn't we say, why the windmill, Yvette?
Mhm.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. Woohoo!
And that's her swinging on the windmill.
Yeah, that little figure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So we'll ask. And we'll get back to you.
All right. And then we have a question from Brittany T from Chicago. She says, what song were you all dancing or listening to for the opening credits? Because you all were jamming. I have so much love for the show. Thank you for the time, Brittany.
I think we were dancing to something real hip and funky. I don't know what we were dancing to, but it was good. Because I remember we were really in our groove and really, you're like,
yeah.
we're really throwing it. So it was something hard.
Yeah, it
and
was something
strong.
hard. Because, when you're filming anything with music, what happens on a set is they'll start to play a track and everybody will hear the music that's in the room and they'll dance for a while so we can understand what's going on. And then they'll pull the track out and just put a beat just low underneath. So then all the dialogue is clean for audio. So it's a very low boo, 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 boo. Something that, the sound can work with. So I actually have no idea. But Kim, it was a jamming thing.
It was jamming. We got in there and we were really having a good time because it was a day that we were shooting all of our photos for the show and our headshots for the show. So it was a full day of just that.
But Kim, you're like this.
I don't, no, but I'm doing. Am I?
Yes.
No, but I'm doing
you're like
the robot.
Doing this strange,
I'm doing the robot.
Well, it is.
Well, because I knew to be it's the robot.
Okay,
it's a bad robot, and John is back there doing his thing, and you're like
the Watusi, the Batusi.
What were you doing?
I was jamming. Look at Kyle, and we're on the end. Me and Kyle, and we're jamming the hardest.
And he's like giving it to you,
he's like
in Chicago style. And then Kim is being cute and pretty, and Latifah's, like. Yeah,
Latifah's giving the Latifah
right.
It was good fun. But
it was
I
a
can't
great
say.
day, as I recall.
Yeah,
because we got to dance and have fun.
We're basically dancing to nothing.
Dancing to nothing.
Showbiz.
Well, that's our show. What a good show it was, and what a good show we have every single week, which is why you're going to want to tune in every time.
And we want to thank Anwar White. Go and find him at Dating Coach Anwar, everyone. We love you.
Erica and I will say farewell to you right now. Make sure you tune in at Reliving Single Podcast. Follow us on all the socials and all the places, and then watch us on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts and all the places where you get your podcasts. And we'd like you to like and subscribe, and please watch all the way through because there's some magic. You want to catch all the magic all the time.
Yes, that helps. And so we'll see y'all next week. Reliving Single is hosted by me, Erica Alexander.
And me, Kim Coles.
Reliving Single is a production of Heartbeat in association with Color Farm Media.
Executive produced by Kevin Hart, Jeff Clanagan, Eric Eddings, Leslie Guam, Erica Alexander, and Ben Arnad.
The show is produced by Kim Coles.
Amber Watson is our senior producer.
Our associate producer is Kenny Jackson.
Our other associate producer is Electra Telesford. Our video editor is Nee Kirschman.
Our sound engineers are Eric Hicks and Cedric Wilson.
Production supervision by Razak Boykin and Brett Calkins.
Additional production support from Alex Atkins and Z Taylor.
Special thanks to BK Augustine and Dr. E.J. Johnson.